DPW Building Committee meeting today, November 4th, 5 o'clock. So we have the minutes from the October 7th meeting.
I'll make a motion to approve
Second?
Motion
by Dan.
by Dan, second by Mary Beth. Any discussions? All in favor?
Aye.
All right, Scott, you're up. Construction update.
All right. Well, the project is progressing nicely. We had a good month in October, and it's progressing nicely.
Might want to tell her who's
Starting off this month.
on that recording.
Just in terms of observed progress in October, we had kind of finalizing the under pavement utilities, as well as a bunch of the under slab utilities. We had our first and second, two one slab on grade, one slab on deck, or in the administrative mezzanine areas. We have plumbing work and electrical work, rough ends, mostly overhead work going on right now with tying in roof drains and some under slab electrical that's getting roughed in and brought up the steel from under the slab. Mostly worth noting is the facade and building envelope is getting closed in. We have the roof substantially completed with pretty much just detailing right now that we're waiting to finish up, and we have a bunch of the insulated metal panels are on. Those are backed up by metal framing, so a lot of that is complete, and just ongoing metal panel work. We also have some interior metal stud walls that got installed in the administration wing. What am I missing, Tom?
We touched most of it. I would say that some of the work on the roof is coming along, curbs. Like you said, some drainage. We have the double membrane up. We have the binder down. And so we have the concrete cut for anything subgrade. We have insulation and vapor barrier going in for the rest of the pour coming this week. In the beginning of the month, right after our last meeting, I believe it was the 7th of October, there was some minor steel that needed to be done. Other than that, we're all caught up. I think that covers a generic, rough generic update on everything.
Just we're continuing to oversee GCI for material testing. We've had some soils, rebar, and concrete over the last month. We've been putting those reports up the docs, and everything's been, the reports and tests have been coming in satisfactory, so that's good. In terms of ADS environmental, they have a few deliverables coming up. I put in here the December 20th phase 1 report, and also a 6-month status report on the RAM plan due January 25th. So we should see a little activity next month from Andrea. These are just the contractors we've observed over the month that we track in our daily reports. Most of them are the same, a few new faces.
Yeah, Northeast Roofing Consultants is new. Concrete wasn't here last time. Yeah, so there's a few new.
Yep, a few new subs on site. We'll probably see a few more in the coming months. Administratively, we're looking good with just a few open submittals, and one pending RFI. We've been continuing to have our weekly job meetings, and those are no issues to bring up on those. Just upcoming work items. Tom, why don't you run through the upcoming work?
So we're gonna have some slabs poured, radiant heat piping in the bays. The electrical will be finalized once we get the inspector out there.
Yeah.
The install for the wall panels is continuing. That work is ongoing. Pretty much every day those guys usually work 4 9s, 9.5s, and then a quick day on Friday to get everything done and coordinated for the next week. Drywall isn't in yet. Barber is the sub. They're doing the framing. They completed the framing for the exterior probably about a week and a half ago, and over the weekend. On Saturday, they began to frame some of the interior partitions in the administration vicinity space. We'll have the binders top finalizing right now. We'll have roofing work continue. We'll have plumbing continue, and electrical. Same thing with inspectors. I believe his name is Bob. I forget his last name. He tends to show up, walks with Pete.
Yeah, so we're expecting just kind of closing in on the building this month with windows and the remaining metal panels and probably some temping in just so we can get the interior roughed in. Administration wing, also just keep heat in the building for, if we're waiting for doors and things like that. So we're on a good, like I said earlier, the schedule's looking pretty good. We had a busy month planned for ahead. I think the schedule's working out nicely where they probably aren't going to hit too much winter conditions as far as slowing them down because they got most of the envelope, in a good pace right now. I will note that on the recent schedule update that we got a few weeks ago, there was a minor slip that it looks like in the kind of the turnover of the green building, getting the utilities cut and the demo complete on 6/2. So I'm not sure why that would be the case because the current schedule looks good, looks promising. I think I did spend some time looking at it, but I think really the next month or 2 months is going to kind of determine how much time we can save on the back end of the schedule, which I am kind of optimistic that we'll pick up some time on this thing.
Hopefully by the end of the month or before it gets too cold, we can get the whole building wrapped to avoid those winter conditions. And then,
and we're looking at it closely, obviously, because there is a potential cost impact for the time we had for the delay period in the beginning. So anything we can do for them to pick up time will kind of mitigate those costs. So again, we are looking at it closely, and we'll encourage them to keep pushing and potentially give us kind of a recovery schedule once we can pinpoint where the float is in the schedule. On to the project budget. We have this includes the payment and the invoices that were presented this month and the payment recommendation by which we can go through next. We're currently 45.1% complete overall. This includes change order number 4, which I'll bring up. That had 2 PCOs on it that we talked about last month. That was for an adjustment to the retention pond and also the that added drainage line to tie in the neighbor's lot to the site. So we, through our kind of comment period, and we negotiated the cost down on the 2 PCOs like $8,000. So that was good. want to make sure I put the change order in here. Yeah, I did. So, any questions on the budget update before we move on?
What's our percent complete construction wise?
45.
Well, 40, that's dollars. I'm just, the construction, where are we at?
45%.
What is it?
I got 45% here paid to date, and I would say that's that's in line with the schedule.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Okay.
So change order number 4 was approved this month for the total was no, it's not on this. I got it over here. $27,015.56. Make it a little bit bigger, but just you can see it had the 2 PCOs here, the added drainage line and the expansion for the bioretention basin. Any questions on those PCOs and the approval process? All right. No safety issues this past month. We're still tracking, monitoring safety obviously on a daily basis. And we've had QA/QC testing. I mentioned we've had GCI out for quite a few inspections. They finished off the structural steel, soil compaction, rebar inspection and concrete placement inspection and sampling.
Warehouse.
The SWIP is being managed appropriately, no community issues. And potential issues here, I did write in here that there's a potential cost increase for the potentially for changing out the platform lift. We talked about this over the past probably 2 weeks and brought it up again this week's meeting or last week's meeting I should say. And I guess I don't know. Maybe actually, why don't I turn that over? Do you mind if I turn that over to you?
Yeah,
Just kind of
sure.
give an update on the lift.
Yeah, so we spoke about the lift. So, Bruce, the lift that we specified, the Mohawk brand,
Yeah.
in the 2 equals, the one that they've submitted on, that's currently still in review, is the same type of lift. I've gone to the manufacturer. They can install that in a recessed condition. So in other words, we wouldn't do one big pit. It would be 2 recess areas, basically, that the runways sit in, about 14 inches deep.
Similar to the Ari Hetero one.
Yes, very similar to the Ari Hetero one. And then the only thing that would happen is there'd be a slight depression that would run across between those areas because they have to run a
Air hose.
air
Air line.
connection.
Right.
So we can proceed if that's something that you and the committee would like to look at. We can, come up with a slight redesign on the floor slab because they would probably have to add in some rebar to make a haunch for those 2 areas.
So I did have a conversation with the gentleman, the local distributor for Oma
Yeah.
lifts, and I found out that Oma actually makes the Mohawk lift,
Okay.
and then they're made in Italy.
Okay.
You look at them, they look identical. Like you go on Mohawk
Yeah.
lifts, and you go on
Right.
they're all the same specs. So we talked in length about different ways to install it without having that 8.5 foot ramp. What you talked about, what they call the island pit, and then they have the bathtub pit.
Yeah.
And so these are all things that I was just learning the other day from them. And yeah, I like the idea of the island pit, like you were talking about, where you just have the 2 essential trenches that go down with where the rack, goes down into the floor.
Right.
And then you don't have any you just have a very small ramp at the end.
Because we avoid a lot of issues with that because right now what happens is there's 2 floor drains in that bay and the the pipe that runs between them is right there in the middle. So if we were to put one big slab depression, we'd run into issues with
Right.
coverage on that
Kind of
pipe.
having a pit like,
So by having two depressions, we avoid all that issue.
Right. In the middle of the two ramps,
Yeah.
the
Yeah,
floor would be the
like
same
the-
elevation as the rest of the floor.
Yeah.
When you change it a little.
So
Not that.
I'm not sure if the rest of the committee saw the initial spec drawings. We already passed those out before of the ramp, the Omar lift with the 8.5 foot ramps. Did everybody see those? No. All right, pass them around, please. Disregard my scribble at the top. I was scribbling on the spec sheet as I was talking to the guy on the phone about the different styles. So what you're looking at there is
I know it's okay.
yeah. So the way that install would be is the lift would be, I don't know how, well, a foot.
It's about 14 inches.
Yeah, 14 inches above the floor. And then it would have to have an 8.5 foot long ramp, permanent ramp bolted to the floor on the end of the lift so you could drive the truck onto it. And I just didn't like that idea at all. I think the 8.5 foot permanent ramp is like a permanent trip hazard. Like it's always going to be at the end of the ramp. Once you have your lift in the air, you still get that ramp down on the floor that's just bolted to the floor. So the same lift can be installed various different ways. And so this is a picture of the same lift without the 8.5 foot ramp to get up on it. And it goes down into the floor. This is the style that we were talking about. That would be one large hole in the floor, which, as opposed to the two
This covers.
parallel trenches. So I like the idea of the two parallel trenches, I guess, but like we were saying Wednesday, I'm don't want to be the decision maker on this. So obviously, we don't know how much extra it's gonna cost. Do we?
We don't. We'd have to issue a sketch, showing them what we'd have to do with the rebar to create those depressions. And then that would probably really be the only thing that changes. Because again, we avoid any issues with the plumbing. So there's no other changes at that point. The nice thing too about having the two separate depressions versus the big one is after they've got it in the air, at least then somebody wants to roll a tube product down the middle.
Yeah.
Then you'd have another issue with that being depressed.
Right. If the mechanic wants to bring a cot with them,
So
you can
they
wheel
try
it
to-
right underneath the vehicle,
Yeah. You'd have to almost,
Yeah.
then put another kind of ramp in the middle.
right, to go down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I just think it's a much cleaner installation.
and then the only difference would be like on the shop drawing, one end shows where they've got those.
Still has it in the middle.
That's the pit style. One big tub. That picture there this is the same height as the floor around it. It would actually have that in the middle also.
So the recess would be 12 inches as well?
Approximately, yeah. It's about the overall. I think it's about 14 inches. Yeah.
In the middle.
So obviously, what about the
Depending on how high the lift goes,
radiant
you could stand
floor.
over it. Yeah.
At that point, what they would be able to do is not. It wouldn't run where those depressions are. So it would run on the outside of it, and then they could also bring the radiant in between where those
Right.
two depressions are.
Couldn't get to the truck.
Hey Bruce, I have one question on the different designs. Is there any safety issues? Because you're lifting a vehicle up, right?
Yes.
So, I mean, as I say, you have two different kinds. Are there safety issues as far as
It's actually the same lift.
It's the same look.
It's the same lift as in
just different ways?
the manufacturer, they offer all, like 3 different applications.
Yeah.
The bathtub style, the island style, and what was the other one I wrote on there? They offer one where there would be a metal plate that would cover the hole in the middle, and as the lift went up, the plate would come up with the lift and fill
Right.
that hole in the middle. I don't really like that idea too much because I'm
Yeah.
thinking that plate's going to be on the ground, it's going to get salt all over it, it's going to be, rusty. in no time. So
Rick, you had a question?
So just during the discussion about this, I'm going to go back 2 months actually first. 2 months ago, we talked about the floor, right? Pouring the floor. We specifically talked about looking at any of the appliances, fixtures, anything that would impact the location of the radiant heat. This discussion wasn't brought up. So all I'm considering is the fact that we're looking at a potential change order, for something that, obviously if it makes more sense for the department and the cost isn't too much, then it's something that we should consider. But I do believe that Greg mentioned something about the reasoning for his including the lift that he put in the design, right? There was some pros and cons for both of these
Well,
scenarios.
this is the same lift that we had in the spec.
But we're changing the depression,
We're changing how it's
Potential.
mounted on the floor, correct?
right?
Yes.
Now, there was discussion about pros and cons about that, right? I mean, Greg did mention,
Yeah, so with the slab depression, because Scott and I were talking about it, this potential, the truck is wet or whatever, oils or whatever could, seep to where those depressions are, so you just have to, kind of keep it swept out and,
yeah, there'll be a channel that will have to be cleaned.
yeah, you
As
have
opposed to
clean it.
sweeping the floor, it'll be
Right, as opposed to where it sits on the floor and everything just goes to the drains.
and if we did nothing, that would be the scenario, right? If we didn't put a change order in, we wouldn't put a depression. Is that?
That's correct. This would just get bolted on the floor.
On top of the floor.
Yeah.
And
the
then
way,
the ramps
the way
would have
it's
to be
being
installed.
done is the most cost-effective way to do it.
Right.
And obviously, budget's always, an issue, concern and stuff like that. So when we designed it, I think that was why we designed it that way, to try to, keep it as tight as possible. But I mean, there's $814,000 in contingency right now. So,
Right.
and we're getting close to 50% through. We're out of the ground, so
We still have to consider the green building.
we're not.
It's
out
not
of the
green.
ground totally, but yeah,
Yeah.
we're.
So all I'm saying is, something we should look at for the benefit of the department. If there's a significant benefit as opposed to what the potential costs will be for a change order. Yeah.
Well, I think what we do is we'll ask our structural engineer to put together a sketch to say, what do we do with the rebar to create that depression? Because it's basically going to be like a haunch slab now.
Right.
And we'll have the contractor put a number to it and see what they can tell us.
Yeah.
It shouldn't involve any of the file sub-bids. Because again, we're avoiding the plumbing and the radiant floor. It doesn't really matter at this point.
which
If anything's a little
There's
less
probably
expensive.
some design costs for the radiant
as
floor,
opposed
right?
to the ramp.
They have a shop drawing right now.
So yeah, they might have to revise it.
Revise that.
Yeah.
We have to determine how we're gonna handle the edges of the concrete, if it's gonna be troweled or if we're gonna put indentments in.
Like an angle.
Like an angle, which is good.
Thank you.
Miss metals and stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah.
even though.
And then the big one for me was that there was a potential for a delay because the slab. They were talking about if in fact we were going to delay pouring the slab, there would often be a cost associated with that from the general contractor.
Right, and I know Greg had spoke with the contractor early last week, and they indicated they still had a few weeks before they're even in that area.
At this
So we,
point, we're not going backwards, we're catching it,
Okay.
so it shouldn't be a delay if we, we're diligent about just putting this out to the contractor and getting them.
Okay. Thank you.
So just one more thing. So when we first were talking about the list, we would consider it drive on, drive off. So what that was what I envisioned was you drive in, and when you were done working on the vehicle, or if you wanted to, you could just drive out the door on the other end. So drive in, drive off, as opposed to drive on and back off. And
It is shown as drive on, drive off though.
but a drive on, drive off with the spec sheet there would.
I understand what they show there, but
Right.
they were supposed to give us ramps at both ends.
Right. So my point is that would make 17 feet of ramp
Yeah.
in the bay,
Yes,
permanently mounted to the floor to be able to drive off on one end. Whereas the application where it goes down to the floor
Yeah.
You know, the ramp's this long.
Makes sense, yeah. How long do you think it'll take to get a cost estimate for the change order,
Does that ramp stay on the lift?
Mike?
This little one.
We'll ask our engineer to get the sketch out this, so we can get that out to
But
them.
it's
this
not
week.
something that's.
If we get them the sketch this week, I
Once
can't
it's up,
imagine it
it's
taking
on- it's out of the
a
way.
couple of days, 3 days.
Yeah.
Off the floor.
As the lift goes up in the air.
Mhm.
Just like in that.
Is it realistic? You can get it. You think you can get a sketch out this week?
Yeah, I'll let them know
Okay.
tomorrow.
Yeah,
Yes,
that's
sketch.
Only difference with this is if this would be filled in.
Correct.
We're gonna have to
It's just one detail, where they'll show what to do with the rebar at that point.
Bruce, on that drive on and drive off, and rather than back up, that means you have to have doors on either side. With those,
Yeah, we do.
with those,
That's,
we were gonna have doors on either side anyway.
Yep. The bay that it's in has a door on either side.
Right, so you can drive on, drive off straight to the,
Yep.
that was added specifically for that, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Does the committee need to vote on that, or?
I think it's like any change order,
Okay.
I mean, get the price and I'll leave it to
right.
Rick and Bruce and Frank and, and I agree. It sounds like it's the way to do it instead of having those ramps, definitely the use of the area would be a lot cleaner, less hazardous. I could, instead of walking around on those ramps, but it comes down to see what the cost
Yeah.
/ benefit is.
All right. And you should get a little bit back on the lift because they won't be having to provide those ramps. So there's some
True.
dollar value to
Yep.
that. I mean, it's not.
Just to add to that too, we did hear from Greg, who said there may be a restocking fee for a lift that we've already indicated we were going to.
Well, we haven't approved the submittal.
Yeah.
So if they've put a purchase order in, that's
on them.
it's on them.
Okay, but he did say that was a possibility.
It's a possibility, but we haven't approved the submittal.
I think that was more if we were going to switch the lift completely and go
Yeah.
to the RE Hetro one or something like that.
Just something that. Okay.
No, good. And good point that, there's equipment we're not going to need to buy. So
Right.
I would hope the cost proposal reflects that, or at least they're reminded of that when
We'll ask them when we send them
that's what we'll have.
the change direction. Ask to make sure that we put
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, because in this picture, I mean,
It wouldn't have the hole in the middle that
Yeah.
that one has. It would be concrete in between the ramps down the
yeah, but you're saying drive on, drive off, straight through the wall. This picture doesn't show a wall. That's why I asked that question.
Oh yeah.
This
That's
is just
right.
showing the ramp.
Right.
Yep.
I don't know
I
whose
think I
garage
saw
that
that
is.
one.
Yeah, I don't know if you want for notes.
All right.
Let's get Scott.
Moving on, just other potential issues, cost issues would be, we have had a couple meetings with the town's IT and facilities about the access control and security and just kind of plan review, and a couple of things came up. We do know that the town has is moving to a Genetec access control and security system, so we asked HKA to issue an ASI for that. So we'll just kind of vet that out to see if that, there could be a cost associated with it. But obviously we'll vet that out and bring that to the committee or the smaller group at our meetings just to see if we want to go forward with that. And then there's also some, Josh sent out an email a week ago from Friday, and there was a couple items in there that HK is looking at with their consultants, so there might be some sketches and PRs or pricing coming back for that we'll review as well. Just moving on to FF&E, we do have one budgetary price back from WB Mason for just over $61,000. So that's in the good, better, best scale. That's the middle line. So I don't know if I am looking to get another, I know Kevin, you mentioned you wanted to get at least another one or two prices in for that. Just on another project we found we have 3 other vendors that we can reach out to, but the next W Mason's consistently coming in quite a bit lower than kind of the next vendor in terms of budgetary pricing, and so I think WB Mason just has kind of better buying power, I think, but we are in good shape if we want to stick with that middle line. We have the $150,000 in the budget for FF&E, and so I think that's a good number there. I mean, that might grow or potentially a little bit, but would there be a reason to go to the best category? I mean, it's probably going to be closer to the 100, 125 or something.
I
mean, this is pretty much.
Is this just office furniture? This isn't
This is generally what we
nothing for the.
for DPW type buildings. Yeah, police,
Same
DPW.
thing.
I think that's fine. Yeah, all the other stuff at the break room, all that's separate. That's all specified,
Yep.
right? Lockers and
Yep.
all that.
Yeah.
This what you're talking is just the desks and the
Correct.
Yeah.
file cabinets and that type of stuff.
Yeah, lockers and millwork and all is part of it.
Yeah, that's in
Contract,
the
yeah.
specs.
The furniture that you're looking at, you talk about, where are you gonna get it from?
Well,
WB
we
Mason?
have the WB Mason. We seem to be doing a lot of business with WB Mason. Their pricing seems fair and the quality's good and everything else.
They're not IKEA style, are they? The furniture?
So, what kind?
It's not IKEA style, is it?
No.
It's good, well,
That's
Some assembly required.
yeah.
I think that's what Dan's getting at.
We have trouble with it.
They're low, but you get it.
Things.
Well, I mean, that's what college kids go to get all that, whatever it is, IKEA, because they just dump it when they're done. I mean, we want furniture that's gonna last.
It's durability is the issue
Yeah.
really for us, right?
Yeah,
It is RTA, ready to assemble.
okay.
They're low, but it's going to take 3 weeks to put it together.
Yeah,
I mean, I think better is probably it's fine.
Yeah.
The actual particulars I'll leave to Dave and Bruce
We'll
and
get
the
other
office
pricing
staff.
in just so we have it and
who, what, where. Now
maybe start that process potentially before the next meeting if those other ones come in much higher, which I'm expecting they were based on what we saw on the last few projects. But and then that covers us. We have plenty of money left in that budget for all the other miscellaneous things we're going to need in there. And then, like I said, on technology, we did have a couple meetings. I'm expecting to have another follow-up meeting. We're just HK is putting together some of the comments with their consultants. Per Josh's email in the last week. So, just moving on to some pictures here. This is the mezzanine area just before the slab on deck pour. This is after they poured it.
Issues.
Just get ready
he's
to
walking on it.
get the machine to finish it.
Gonna finish it.
This is some equipment bringing in some fill into the admin area just to bring up that grade. And then we have the rigid insulation going in. This is the administration wing. Another shot.
Basketball court.
And a couple other angles here. And then we have the vapor barrier going down underneath or on top of the rigid insulation, and then the welded wire mesh for the reinforcing in this slab here. Just get ready to pour. Finishers. Placing the concrete. And then we have the curing. And then we have move on to some roofing. installation. Just showing the different layers. We have the dense deck that goes down first, then we have a AVB that goes down over that, self-adhering. And then we have the insulation and the membrane that goes down. I don't know if we had a picture of the actual insulation underneath the membrane, but
There's a ton of them like daily.
yeah, there's a ton of pictures of that. So, and then just the progress of the panel installation here. And this is the equipment they use to lift it up. Suction cups.
What's that paneling made out of?
It's rigid insulation sandwiched between metal. And they have a tongue and groove system, and there's a whole process for getting it installed and keeping them. Provides the air and the whole air tightness as well as the water tightness. Some pictures of that in the distance, and then some of the binder that's down in the distance. And then some temp lighting going in. Temp power and lighting. This guy here is the electrician putting some pull strings in the conduit, the communication duct bank. And then just the transformer pad over here, getting ready to be poured. And some painting going in up above, as well as hangers for the roof drains. These are roof drains here with roof leaders that tie into the underground. And more of the hangers that are going in. Some of that underground plumbing here you can see in the vehicle maintenance bay.
Really?
And this is the trench drain base that goes in. This is poured in place, and then they can set the trench drain in place, and then provides reinforcement around it when they pour. And then some repairs to the salt shed put in here.
That's nice. That's good that you did that.
Came up
Read the
good.
report, Bruce.
Huh?
It's Bruce's guys.
Yeah,
Is that Bruce up in the lift?
I think so.
And someone
Yes.
lipstick.
That's pretty much that. The overview. We can
like that.
move on to the.
I have a couple of questions.
Sure.
All right. First of all, in the roof, do we have an entryway to the roof for inspection, like in the future? Like a door or something?
Yes, there are two roof hatches. One
Okay.
comes up from the vehicle storage garage. That gets you to all the low roof areas. And then from the mezzanine up to the high roof, there's another roof hatch.
Okay.
Yeah.
Second of all, I remember when we were trying to look at repairing the metal building in the back, how we wanted to go certain height with cinder blocks, cement, right in case of an accident, somebody backs into it with a truck. It doesn't do that much damage to the wall. Is that to the new buildings? Are we having that?
So what we ended up doing on this building is we put, they're not going to show up for a little while until
Yeah.
the slab's done, but there's actually going to be guardrails in the vehicle storage garage.
I mean, I want to have a new building and God forbid somebody backs into it with some heavy equipment.
Have they?
Yeah.
There's like interior bollards.
Huh?
There's
Yeah.
bollards on the inside.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right. And
Yeah.
then there's going to be rails that
There.
get attached to all
Okay.
those bollards.
So you have a series of bollards on the outside.
So you shouldn't have any vehicles going through. any
I
of the
ju-
wall. Yeah.
I mean, I hate to have a building and an accident and somebody a lot of damage.
Plus, there's a.
But there is masonry in the bottom.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right. I'm looking at it now.
Right. And then right there's.
Yep.
Yeah.
And this building's going to be secure enough, tight enough, so come winter they can do the interior, work on the interior.
That's the way it's looking. I mean,
Yeah, 'cause that's-
they may have some temping to do, but we're expecting, windows to start coming in over the next month.
Yeah, because that was the issue that we had building the police station when they weren't on time, and they had heaters inside and everything.
Yeah.
Winter conditions.
Yeah.
It does still probably run some temporary heat.
Oh, yeah,
Once
I
they
mean,
get it
yeah.
closed, yeah. But like these walls here, those will be protected with the guardrails. And then what happens too is about 4 feet up, there's a 8-inch square steel tube that runs along there. So even if they went through the guardrail, they're gonna hit that steel tube,
I mean,
you know, on building.
Those are very, I guess. What are they called?
Yeah, the bollards.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Those are the installed over
You know, one thing, using the leaf pile, people drive by there and they're all commenting to me, you know, they're glad to see the buildings showing what they're spending their money on. You know, there's nothing like being able to show exactly what's going on, and they all nothing but good comments.
And the masonry on the outside, that'll,
Yeah, it's gonna look sharp with that and the windows.
they still gotta do
You
that
know.
one. Yeah. Unless they wanna tent it and do it during the winter.
See any issues with the green building? Asbestos in there?
Don't know.
That's scaring the shit out
To
of me.
Rick's point, we don't know until we open up the green building.
Yeah.
Well, they have a report.
Yeah, they went through it.
Yeah, it's just
Yeah, well, we had a report.
they know what we saw.
Yeah, we had a report in the old,
It's what you don't see, or
the old Holt School, we had a report on it. What happened? Report was not any good. Remember?
all right. So we get a couple invoices.
Yes, we do. We have Page Building Construction Requisition number 8 for $1,278,894.50. We have CMS WDPW number 10 for $45,000, and we have reimbursable number 5, which is the construction testing reimbursement for $1,441. Then we had the topping off ceremony. Mary Beth had sent some receipts for that, so we put this in here to reimburse the town of Mary Beth for that. And I think there was maybe some other, maybe like another receipt.
If I find it.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it, it's $24.
So that brings the total to $1,325,654.26.
We need a motion?
I'd like a motion.
I will make that motion.
Second for comment.
Yeah, we have a motion second. Any further discussion?
So could you give us a percentage for CMS and the architect?
You can do that.
So the architect doesn't have any invoices here, right? I mean, he's pretty far behind.
He billed last month, kind of caught him up,
Oh,
but
caught him up.
he didn't bill this month for CA services. So,
Okay.
and we've just been billing. We adjusted ours about a month ago to get like even with where
Oh,
we
general
kind of
construction's
where we
Australian.
should have been.
So the building is at 45 and CMS is probably a little over 50.
We're at 51, yeah, 0.9. So that includes some of our time, like during design and stuff like that. So if you look at, we're at 45.4 for CA services, which is almost, it's 4% different than the total, and it's where's that in construction? Yeah, so construction's 45, and we're 45 as well.
Okay.
And Greg and Mike are 51 for CA, so they're right there.
Very good. Thank you.
Any other discussion on the invoices? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Who made the second on that?
Rick.
You did. Thank you.
Okay. Any new business?
I have another question. I know we're buying new furniture and things like that for the building. Is there any old furniture that we're not going to use? What are we doing with it? We auctioning it off, or we're not just throwing it in a dumpster? If they're in pretty good shape and we can sell it, as auction it off as second hand. I don't know. What do we usually do?
Well,
It's like a vehicle. I mean, we don't trash a vehicle.
so I'm assuming like right away, it's not going to be coming out of the admin building right now. It's not,
Yeah.
I don't think we're going to like vacate everything immediately for
Yeah.
one thing. For another thing, I think if nobody else in town has used some for someone like my desk is is in decent shape.
Yeah.
And so you know, you can get rid of these things on municipal, this thing called
Yeah.
municipal.
Okay.
So
No, what I don't want is sideline furniture that's in the employees' rest area, couches you get off the street. Get rid of all that stuff. I mean, I
Yeah,
couldn't
I mean,
believe it.
usually
The wood stove is gonna go.
Yeah,
the process
We're gonna
typically.
bronze
So
it.
good, though.
We're gonna
wait till
bronze
the new
it.
break room. You mean?
maybe have
But
a locker that doesn't look like
I think,
crap.
yeah, to Bruce's point, I mean, we'll move in, we'll see what we want, what we don't want,
Yeah.
and then
Order
well,
it, yeah.
as a department, we'll declare it
Excess.
excess and
Yeah.
put it out there. You know?
Sometimes other departments can use a file cabinet or whatever.
Yeah.
Put it on municipal.
Yeah,
If
then,
not, then we'll
you know,
can
usually
sell it and get a
try to
couple
find,
bucks,
like,
we'll
a
sell it.
local scrap company that can come and take the metal for free, so you're not paying for that. And then we'll just have the move, like, we can hire movers, they'll move it out into that area. And
Gee, I know where we can get a dumpster. Next door.
and then
It's an opportunity to purge,
I know.
get rid of stuff. It's like moving the house.
Don't want to do that again.
Habitat for Humanity.
The only, I guess it's not new business. We talked last time quickly a little bit about a new salt shed or potential. I know we did a little bit of repairs to the existing. Is that, I guess I'll ask the board and the committee, something maybe to get some estimates on? You know, I know right now all the numbers look good budget wise. You know, what Bruce and his guys did will live through a few more years, but it's still a very old structure. You know, I guess I'm looking for thoughts, Rick.
I was just gonna say, it took me by surprise when I found out we were renovating it after the last discussion was that we were gonna get some idea of the cost on a new one. So, obviously you wanna make it nice, so it doesn't, show up against a brand new building, but, is that something you're still interested in doing?
Well, Greg actually did send out a couple pictures today, an email. There's two estimates in there. One for it has concrete on the bottom, fabric on the top, and then another all wooden structure, I believe. Yeah, would it be nice to have a new salt shed? Sure, but the one we have now is functional. I mean, it could use some structural repairs. We just did mostly cosmetic. We repaired the roof. We screwed the roof down. We put some new pieces in the roof. We did the siding and we painted it. There's some bracing on the side that needs to be repaired. You know,
Is that what it looks like
repair
now?
what we got?
No.
Or-
No.
No, I'm saying, that's a new one.
Wonders.
I'll say that's amazing.
So that's 325?
Yeah, so that's a fabric structure with the big concrete blocks as a base. And then typically what we do with those is we'll put pressure treated wooden exterior grade plywood around the inside of it, and then it sits on a concrete pad, but then we put bituminous paving over the concrete, so it's not, the salt's not sitting on it. That one I think is from Medway. And then the second picture is a wood structure that was done in Revere. So that has a concrete retaining wall cast in place around the perimeter that's probably about 10, 12 feet tall. And then it's a wood frame structure on top.
Do we have an area other than to put a new one and then tear that down?
I have no idea.
I mean, you can't tear it down and leave the salt bare. I mean,
Yeah.
it'll wash off,
Yeah,
wash out.
project,
Huh?
It'd be if we were to do it, I imagine we'd empty the one out that we have. Like typically at the end of every winter, I fill it.
Yeah. Right.
So if we knew we were going to be doing something like that, we wouldn't fill it. We'd get it
Yeah.
down and then,
Get it later, yeah.
So we,
I agree. I mean, if we have the money left over, right? People have voted for this project.
Some of them would like to see it go back into contingency, right? I mean, it doesn't mean we have to spend it all.
No, I know that, but I mean, I think we ought to wait till our project is
I do too.
no, I
completed.
just, we and last time there were numbers that were a lot less than this. I mean, at that number, there's no way.
Right.
Right. But I mean,
You know what I mean? And then there was discussed the fabric one. Yeah, it's cheaper, but there's not a longevity.
right.
You know, obviously the fabric over time. You know,
Well,
the
that's what
fabric
Paul
one
does.
is more, I think, in our price range. But you know, what does that get us?
I think they're
Yeah.
typically like a 15-year lifespan.
That's it?
Well,
Well, salt
the
is-
fabric.
Yeah.
Right.
Because
a lot of
obviously
it lasts.
the fabric deteriorates.
I mean, what, the one that we have now is what? 50 years old?
I believe it was built in the early 70s.
Yeah.
That's right. We, like I said, and some of the numbers I had in my notes were
3 1/4.
three and a quarter for
He also mentioned you'd have to reposition it on the parcel, Greg. So
You know.
Yeah, he was.
so
Well,
if we're
work.
There
and
was
all
some
that.
space in the
Yeah.
back, maybe.
I mean, if we, as I say, if we, I understand where Rick's coming from, but if we have a certain amount of money left over and is enough to build the shed, I mean, town meeting appropriated an, amount of money. And if we could save money by, and adding that to it, instead of 2 years down the road saying, now we need an salt shed, why didn't you do that when we built the new one? That's all I can hear in town meeting, you know what I mean? So, I mean, if we have it, we have it. Because that salt shed is in. Whew.
Well, we don't have it till we're done.
Right, exactly. No,
yeah,
I understand
that's
what you're saying.
Always the struggle.
We'll
yeah.
just see what we got left when,
Believe though, like Kevin
Huh?
says, we're never gonna have the big number.
Mike, do we know
We're
what the
never
lead
gonna have
time
the
is
big
on
number
these?
left.
yeah.
No.
No, but I was going to say typically these can be constructed. I want to say those fabric ones were done in about 12 weeks. So the nice thing about when your project is ending is during the summer next year. So as we get to like May, June, you're going to know that this
Right.
is pretty
Right.
much how much you
Yeah.
got left over.
And then we make a
And then-
decision.
Yeah.
So what is the replacement cost of the fabric by itself? I mean, so if you say 15 years, they just you're gonna get out of the fabric,
Yeah.
you know,
I'd have to. I don't remember what the because
'Cause, you know,
you
you
pay
would-
for it. The 3 1/4 to pay for that. You're buying the concrete pad that's sitting on and all the other
and the
stuff. So I have to
blocks
see.
and the wood on the inside and everything,
Yeah,
Yeah.
probably half.
you know?
I think my recommendation would be if you're thinking about one of the options, we get a sketch and get a price now, and then we can talk about it for a while. But there's going to be some economy potentially having site contractor on site. You know, they may not. If the winter's mild, they might be able to do some of the prep during the winter. Maybe you go ahead with a certain portion of it on like the prep, the lower, kind of getting
The
in
base.
preparation for the the base, and then
I mean,
then you can pull the trigger later on.
Yeah.
But if you wait till the spring, Paige is going to be in exit mode, and you're not going to.
Well, they still have a lot to do after the green building comes down, and that's not till then anyway. So you'd be getting them right as they're doing that work.
Yeah, if the construction company's finishing up and then all of a sudden there's a possibility of them getting a little bit more work, they may come with a good price for it.
I think budget wise, we need to wait.
Right.
You know, and at this time of year, we're not going to be doing site work, concrete work, slab work. You know what I mean? So
Oh, for God's sakes.
we talked about it last time a little bit. Just want to.
So do you
Dennis, I'll call you back. I'm at a
keep
meeting.
this on hold, or do you want them to
Bye,
release start?
I don't think it's worthwhile to do. That's me personally. Pricing now. Pricing, I think, is so volatile on a lot of options.
Bruce, do you know what size your existing shed is? So roughly.
It's 60. It's 65 feet approximately, something like that long by about 45 or so wide.
Okay. Close enough.
Obviously, these are structures that were built recently, so the pricing is there. I guess we kind of got what we talked about last time. Some rough idea on pricing. So now it's just a matter of when or if
We have the money, yeah.
we have the money and if we want to spend it. But I think that decision's probably still months away.
All right.
I mean, what costs $10 today is gonna be $20 tomorrow.
But how big these are.
But it's nice to
Yeah,
have
I'll
a
be
project
doing
that's
that.
under budget too.
Sorry.
Yeah.
You know how big those are?
I don't remember.
No.
They're bigger than that.
They're bigger than
I
that?
think they were larger than that. Yeah.
That's a pretty good size.
Yeah.
And I think probably the committee realizes this, but I just want to throw it out there that, and I'm not pushing anything, I'm just bringing it up because it's not in our budget update, but there is that 300 and plus thousand in, it's like an allowance for, that we haven't broken into for, unit prices for soil, like varying soil conditions and stuff. So we would expect that we would see a good portion of that back as well, on top of the contingency that we're carrying now.
Yeah, but the big issue is the green building.
Mm-hmm.
That's
There's still unknowns there. I
right,
guess
a lot of unknowns, so.
All right.
I guess we got some numbers.
Yeah.
Anything else?
Next meeting, Kate?
You wanna read off whose names, who's here?
Oh, yes, sorry. Yeah, just for,
So she knows who is here, so she can.
so
write
in
down.
attendance, Kevin Clary, Dan Salvucci, Mary Beth Carter, Scott Lupker from CMS, Tom Garrity from CMS, Mike, was it Mike Vienna?
Vienna.
Vienna. HKA, David May, Rick Anderson, Dennis Smith, and Bruce Martin. Thank you for reminding me.
Yeah, so we need a motion to adjourn?
Just the next meeting we'll be back to the second Monday, right?
Right, the first Monday is town meeting.
Right, so December 9th. Yeah, I think we were always planning the second, but
Yep,
the last couple months of holidays have,
that looks
So what are we
good.
looking at?
so December 9th,
December 9th?
5 o'clock. I will entertain a motion to adjourn if there's nothing else.
Second.
I can't make it. Well, you've made it. Okay, so Dennis and Dan, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.